Let's say we're creating a mod menu for GTA. This menu will have 3 buttons. We'll say that button 1 will give the player weapons, button 2 will spawn a car, and button 3 will restore the player's health. In our mod menu class, we have a menu button array holding 3 menu button objects. In our update method, we have a check for each button in our menu button array. If button 0 in our array is pressed, then we call the giveWeapons function and pass in CJ. If button 1 in our array is pressed, then we call the spawnCar function and pass in Infernus. Lastly, if button 2 in our array is pressed, then we call the setHealth function and pass in CJ and a value of 100. The code works as intended, so we consider it done and post it online. Some days go by, and our mod is getting lots of attention from the community. The general consensus seems to be that this mod is cool, however, the users would like to easily change the order of the buttons. Well then there's our new problem. We want our users to be able to reconfigure the menu to their liking. With our current setup, this is impossible as we are directly checking each button and each of its functions are hard-coded. And this is only 3 buttons. Imagine if we wanted to add more. It would become a mess really fast. This is a clear-cut job for the command pattern. The command design pattern has lots of descriptions, but I think the one from geeksforgeeks.org explains it pretty well. The command design pattern is a behavioral design pattern that encapsulates a request as an object, thereby decoupling the sender of the request from the receiver and allowing flexible execution of operations. Now, if that sounds confusing, don't worry. The key takeaway from this description is that the command pattern encapsulates a request as an object. Looking back at our code, the requests in question are the functions that we're calling based on the corresponding button that was pressed. Give weapons, spawn car, and set health. So what exactly does this all mean, and how can we apply the command pattern to satisfy our users with the ability to reconfigure the order of the menu? We'll start by creating the command interface. The usage of an interface means that its sole purpose of existing is to create new classes that will implement it and provide its own definition of the interface's methods. The only method that exists in the current command interface is execute. This execute method will be used by every object that implements our command interface. Using this interface, let's create concrete commands for all of our functions. We'll start by creating the giveWeapons command. Now you can visually see the encapsulation of our call to the giveWeapons function within this new command. Let's make commands for our last 2 functions. We'll say that class spawnCar command implements command, and it will provide its own version of execute, which is of course calling the spawnCar function. And lastly, we'll have our class restoreHealth command implement command, and its version of the execute method is of course calling the setHealth function, passing in CJ and a value of 100. With all of our commands created, we can move on to utilizing them properly. This will require us to create what's called a command invoker. An invoker is simply an object that knows what a command is and has the ability to execute said command. If you haven't guessed it by now, the buttons within our menu are the invokers. Let's take a look at the menu button class. As of right now, it only has 2 fields, an integer field for the ID and the Boolean field that returns true or false if the button has been pressed. To transform this into an invoker, we only need to add a few things. We'll add a command field to hold a command object. Respectively, we need to create a new method to assign commands to this field, and we'll name it assignCommand. Lastly, we need the button to be able to execute its command, so we'll create a method named executeCommand. When called, it checks if it's currently assigned a command object. If it is, it calls the execute method. That pretty much wraps up our invoker class. We now have our commands and our command invoker. Let's finish this up by taking a look at our mod menu class. There's only a few things to note within our mod menu class. First, we have an array of menu button objects. Our constructor takes in an integer that tells the menu how many menu buttons in total it should have and creates those buttons for our menu button array. Lastly, we have the update method from earlier, who's responsible for checking if a button is pressed and calling the appropriate function. Instead of this messy if-else block, we can now exchange it for a clean loop. We'll loop over our menu buttons and call the execute command method if the button was pressed. This is a benefit from our menu button objects being upgraded to become invokers. Lastly, we'll create a method that makes it easier for us to assign commands to buttons that exist within a menu. And that's it. All we have to do is tie everything together for a neatly designed mod menu using the command pattern. We'll start by creating a new menu using our mod menu class. We pass in the number 3, indicating that we only want 3 buttons for our menu. The only thing left to do is call the assign command to button method on our menu, pass in a valid button ID, and then pass in a valid command. In conclusion, we have successfully decoupled our messy code and introduced tons of flexibility for our mod menu. We only scratched the surface of how powerful the command pattern truly is, and yet it already made our program so much better. For example, our mod menu now supports changing during runtime, and most importantly, easy reconfiguration of buttons. We no longer have to touch the mod menu class at all, and adding new commands is as simple as creating a new command object just like we did before and assigning it to a button of our choice. I hope this video was helpful if you're learning about design patterns, or if you're like me and love watching programming examples, then I hope you found this video entertaining. Please let me know if I made a mistake anywhere, like and subscribe if you'd like to see more design patterns explained through GTA, and make sure to write some code today.